Hi everyone and welcome back to Sonic Academy's Ultimate Drums Tutorials. In this one we're going to take a look at the main room house genre, where Phil is an expert. And you can't see, but I'm doing inverted commas in the air.
Am I an expert?
I don't know. It's. I suppose, Phil, if I'm being brutally truthful, it's not an area that I'm madly familiar with.
Yeah, so I would say for me the real focus on this was a few particular sound elements. The clicks on the clicks and the booms on the kicks. We spent a lot of time nerding over them and getting them right. There's just a particular sound that's being used, and we just really wanted to.
I mean, you started going down sort of to the cycles level of
yeah. I mean, I went in and edited individual samples in a wave editor. Just to get the clicks right, yeah. And then actually, if you look, I'll bring one in and just sort of show you the waveforms. So we're going into the, again, it goes back to the concept we were talking about in the prog one, where you've got your pitch bend down, and the speed of that pitch bend really determines the style of kick, and a really analog kick will have will just be a sine wave that's just basically pitched down, and you can create an entire kick. I mean that could be, you wouldn't necessarily need any other elements on the click. That could be an analog kick from top to bottom. Yep. But obviously we have different clicks that we've used, that sort of give different impacts and punches. There's some that are less analog. Main room house tends to sort of veer a bit more towards the sort of analog 808s on the bottom end, and sort of,
they're not as in your face as trance.
Yeah.
They're.
So there's a lot of variations in that click, and that sort of, again, when we talked about that mid section, that sort of punchy section, and how quickly that dives down sort of gives you the hardness of the kick. So there's some that are just like straight subs, and some that are sort of more aggressive. Like that's a more aggressive, more 909E type one. A lot of them are sort of, these couple are very aggressive, sort of more, these are more Tommy Trash type stuff, and that's maybe a bit more banging sort of stuff. So we'll create a kit, and then so that was one main focus, was just getting that right. Again, we went through a bunch of tracks and just sort of reverse engineered and tried to get them as close as possible. And then snares are a big element. Getting those sort of, you use snares a lot in main room house because you're using them for your percussion elements to, to add your drive. Where in trance you're using hats and shuffles and percussion to add drive, and in main room house it's mainly all bang 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 snares, and it's more space between the samples. You're not sort of filling up all the space with drums.
It's very much a sort of eighth resolution, isn't it? Rather than
you're not, there's not a lot of fast 16ths going on, so your snares and the quality of how those sound are really important, how big they are, wide, and so we got a bunch of them. Whether you're layering them on top of kicks to get your sort of rhythm, or in your breakdowns. Breakdowns in main room house are the big thing, where you have your big drum rolls and stuff. That's where snares are really important. So got a ton of those, and then toms as well. So in between your beats, you have your toms to give you the sort of the groove. Oh well, it's actually we've got those under hits. So you got the big sort of hits, or do we? Where do we? Yeah, it's the toms, is it?
Yeah,
the big hits.
It's toms.
So those sort of big in-betweeny hits, stuff like that. Again, sort of Swedish House Mafia style stuff, Tommy Trash, layback look. So we'll just fire something together here, and we'll. And again, with all the kits, or with all the packs, we've got kits. So we've got drum racks kit. Again, you can fire that in and investigate that yourself. And we have Ultra Beats, so they're both the same, and AXS24 as well.
Yeah. Again, the loops are in Apple Loops, Rex, and AIFF.
So I'll go through and I'll put something together, and And you can I don't think we need too much music on this because it's very much led by the drums, isn't it? I think you'll. So what do I need? A drum racks. And we'll go through some kicks. Some effective kicks there. So there's a nice solid kick to get us going. And again, you can either use the length of the actual MIDI part to control your the length of the sample. And we were talking earlier about in trance, it's sort of, you want over 2 beats, progressive, depends whether you want sort of the big boomy or where your bass is, but generally speaking, main room house, sort of a longer kick, it's got a sort of more...
So over possibly 3, possibly 4.
3, possibly 4, yeah. And we'll turn our velocity up on that. And again, we've purposely made the clicks probably a bit louder than you would maybe use in your track, but then you've got the attack, so you could dial that back if you need to. Or when you come to compress it, it'll cut that off. So it's like preempting the processing a bit. So there's more click than you would probably have in your final track, but that'll get lost in your track somewhere.
So it's always there, and you don't have to gain it up. Plus, the boom is purposely long, so you can adjust it to whatever suits your track.
Yeah, so the booms are very long there, and you can sort of cut them down to whatever you want. Most of the time, they extend even over sort of 4 beats. And so we'll fire that in, and then we'll go for some of our toms. So there's a couple of things you can do with toms. You can just get a big one in there. That is your standard sort of main room house percussion pattern. And I'll just put a bit of velocity on that to bring it out a bit.
That's a loop that everybody's heard in loads of time, so
it's pretty standard stuff, but I mean it's got a nice groove to it. I mean there's variations all over the show on that.
Works.
You can bring that in. So you can play about with those. Again, you're always sort of sitting in between the groove, so you don't want your toms necessarily on your kicks. You want to sort of fill in the gaps really with your toms. And that gives you your groove. And then you might want to layer those up, so you could add more toms on top. There's like more big sort of hitty toms, something like that. And you might not have that on every single one. You could maybe put it on every other one. And those are long as well, so you could... And we'll maybe add another one in. Yeah, so a bit of a note into it. But just sort of those levels a wee bit. And then we've got a bunch of sort of smaller hits. These are just sort of more incidental sounds that you can use to sort of speed up. Again, when the trance we use these shuffly hi-hats. Main room house we're going to be using sort of more intricate. It's almost like prog, but it's maybe a wee bit fuller sounding, a wee bit sort of woodier or something.
Prog is very tight and sort of clicky. With these, woody is a great sort of analogy.
Yeah, I mean there's again these packs. If you make prog or you make main room house, both packs are going to give you a lot of useful sounds for one or the other. You know what I mean? So buy both. Get all the packs. No, but they really do. It was one of the things that we actually discussed, is whether to have a separate prog pack or whether it should all be sort of one. But we sort of, the deep house thing, I think, is where it sort of veers off with the sort of live stuff. I think that's the sort of where it really defines the difference between the two. I
think that's the thing with genres at the moment as well, is they're all starting to melt into each other. So that there's certain key elements that are unique to main room house, but you know, there's bits that are prog, there's bits that are slightly trance, and so yeah, there's elements in both that would work in other genres.
Yeah, at the end of the day, they're all drums. You know, we've tried to make them as genre specific as possible, but you know, drums are drums. They're going to work in a lot of different areas. So, you know, I'll fire some of these sort of smaller hits in. It's a nice wee woody hit. There's a bit of a sweep up there. Probably get a bit of that in. Just firing a few random ones in here, and then we'll sort of see what fits, what doesn't. I'll probably make this a wee bit busier than I normally would, just sort of so we can
sort of showcase
show a few
sound,
sounds. Yeah. Yeah, so there's a few sort of different variations. We'll see if we can get these to sort of gel together somehow.
Good luck.
So turn our being really methodical about how I'm putting these in. Just firing them in.
Well, I think that's, I mean, sometimes how you program, you just throw things in and
then so I'll maybe move a few of them about. And I suppose repetition is good as well, so you could take that whole section and copy it to sort of maybe there where it sort of comes in again. And is this the sweep up? Yeah, so we'll fire this actually at the end.
It's a long sample.
Yeah. So as I said, I'd probably put a bit more in than I normally would in this type. It's
a bit busier, yeah.
Yeah, a bit busier, but you can sort of hear a bit of variation. I'm actually going to take those out because I'm going to show you some of the loops.
Yeah, some hi-hat action.
So we've got a bunch of loops as well.
You can maybe show us like either a snare, a downbeat snare, or kick, or clap.
Yeah.
Sort of.
So some done nicely there. Some nice loops. So again, some can be used for sort of fills, breakdown, or build-ups and sort of different elements. Almost like a Latino-y sort of a more busy version. Some more more basic stuff.
That really lets the toms through. You can hear the program toms coming through there.
Yep. More nice hats and clap variations.
I have to say, whoever programmed these,
I think some of them are really good, Chris.
sheer genius.
Did you do them? It's an interesting groove you got on there. Let's quantize that. Oh, where are we? Yes. So why did you make it in there? Yeah. So again, you can do what we did in the trance one and apply your own grooves. So that had a groove on it, and then I quantized it, and I'm gonna put another groove back on it, and it just means you can sort of play about.
There's a lovely note to that, isn't there?
Yeah,
Very cool.
and we've got just a fill loop there, a few fill loops. Some sort of fill type stuff, some toms on their own.
So it's in main room house definitely takes its cues from tribal. Tribal doesn't really exist anymore, does it? Well, doesn't exist. It's not it's not at the forefront of EDM.
No, I think ultimately it is coming from the same area.
Yes.
And yeah, depends what you got in your stuff. So I'll just fire through a few more of these loops.
That's quite nice. So there is everything there from the very simple, lots of space to quite full on.
Yeah,
loops.
how many loops we got? 7. We've only a few more to go, so we can. Yeah, so build nice, simple. And then variations on a few of them. And some of them have a sort of bit of a kick from a click on them. And you could just go in if you wanted and take those out.
And that gives it another oral difference as well, because you're shutting off the reverb and it makes it interesting.
So a bunch of loops and let me just put this down. Let's go back. What else we got? We've got hits, cymbals and rides. So we've got a bunch of crashes. Yeah, we've got some really cool rides. These are like sort of hybrid rides. From just a bunch of sort of analog drum machines all sort of combined together and stuff. A lot of the main room house rides tend to be sort of analog, the sort of 707, 808, 606 type sounds. Let me just get that up. So they're sort of there, but they're sort of splashy in the background. I would
there's
say.
a sort of white noisy element almost to it.
Really nice they help you really sort of build up the energy in your track. And then we'll add a wee
Snare
on the top. So we got this snare was there's like two types of snares. One snare is like the big snare, and you would use it if you're doof 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 doof. And then there's like a smaller snare, which you sort of hear people going on their sort of like build-ups and stuff. So
okay.
I'll give you a bit of a demo of these two types. So basically we put a whole bunch of snares in, and then we're going to stick velocity on that. Go back in, and we're going to take all our snares down, and then we only want to bring up put in triplets there if you wanted. And that's sort of where you would start then, hearing your build up come in.
Velocity wise up, yep.
You can sort of imagine that in your break, and then on top of that, a lot of the times you get a sort of bigger snare, you know, that will come in and sort of play a slightly sort of velocity on that. Where'd our snare go? Velocities are real low. That's how you're sort of getting those big build-ups. You know, you can use sort of variations on different snares to just sort of build it all up.
That starts to sound very claustrophobic and intense and dark and sounds great.
Yeah, exactly. So that's perfect for your build. So I think that's pretty much it. What else have we got in our... So yeah, claps. Tons and tons and tons of claps. I'll just take these snares out for the meantime. We can hear what the... Get a bit of a tone back in. And so we got a few reverb claps. So these are more effects claps, and they'll sort of, you know, slam in at the start of a kick or start of a break or change of a...
at the end of a bar.
Change of a section or whatever, yeah. Work as well backwards as they do forwards, so you can sort of reverse them. There's a whole rig of them. And then we've all our sort of standard claps. So I'll fire a couple in here. Get those velocities up. So a whole bunch of claps. And we were talking in the progressive one again about the claps were...
it's not on the downbeat,
yeah.
It's slightly before the downbeat, and that's especially true in main room house, isn't it?
Yeah, so a clap like this one, I suppose you call it like a lazy clap.
Mm-hmm.
You can hear there that it's sort of
It's very human, isn't it? It's very sort
Yeah.
of a bunch of people clapping in a studio.
So you just tend to sort of bring these forward. That gives you just that sort of schwack up into your clap sound. And again, combining layering claps is really important. You might want one that has that sort of, sweep up into it, and you might want one that's going to give you a bit more...
A definitive downbeat.
Yeah. Let me see where I can put these. That's quite nice. And then more swacky ones, for sort of bigger sound and stuff. Or maybe further on in your tune, you might
start to build it.
Yeah, you could have 3 or 4 or 5 different claps in a tune. Some at the starts, or some sort of building up when you come into a bigger section. So we'll add a few in there. Maybe just emphasize the attack on that a bit. So we can
make it very tight. Real.
Yeah, just make it tight to give sort of a bit more attack to the overall. So there you go, there's all the sounds. Anything else we missed out? We got our hats.
With hats, loops, drum kits, we've been through it all, I think.
Yep, good stuff. Okay, so there we go. Thanks for listening in. The next one we're going to be looking at the final one, which is dubstep.
I look forward to this one.
Okay, thanks. I'll catch you in a bit.
Sonic Academy is proud to present one of its most useful tools to date. Ultimate Drum's Main Room House is a massive collection of single drum sounds, loops and kits, meticulously reverse engineered from the best sounding tracks in the genre. This sample pack truly excels in sound quality and variety, with sounds and loops to kickstart that massive dance floor destroyer. Choose from hundreds of kicks, claps, snares and percussion, all bundled with loops in AIFF, Rex and Apple Loops format. Also included are pre-made kits in Ableton Strum Racks, Logic's Ultrabeat and EXS24. This truly is the ultimate in drums, so download today and become that next level producer at sonicacademy.com.